All right, it is 6:31. I'm going to call this meeting to order of the Champaign County Board. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Locke,
Present.
Lockshin,
Here.
Michaels, Pugh,
Here.
Rodriguez,
Here.
Rogers,
Present.
Sexton, Storr, Straub, Taylor,
Here.
Thorsland,
Here.
Benich Theronot,
Here.
Wilson,
Here.
Carter,
Here.
Cowart, Esri, Furtado,
Here.
Goss,
Here.
Hanauer Friedman, Harper,
Here.
Ingram,
Here.
Patterson.
Here. Next, we have the prayer. Please give me the patience to be compassionate and helpful towards others and myself, and to know when it's best to remain quiet. Give me clarity to be grateful for all that I have and to realize when I have something to give to others. Give me the capacity to love and forgive others, especially for those who have wronged me. Give me the serenity to find happiness and peace in each day. All right, please stand for the pledge. Clerk, could you please read the notice of the meeting?
Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the County Board, Champaign County, Illinois, will convene on April 20th, 2023, 6:30 p.m. in the Shields Carter Meeting Room, Brookins Administrative Center, 1776 East Washington Street, Urbana, Illinois, in said county for the purpose of allowing and ordering payments of claims against the county, receiving and acting upon reports of committees, and such other matters as may be brought before said meeting, which said meeting shall continue in session from day to day until the completion of said business.
All right, could I have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So move.
Carter and Taylor. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have the date and time of the next regular meetings and standing committees. And just a note, on Monday, we are going to have the Community Violence Task Force meeting at 6:30 here. Next is public participation. Mallory Wentworth and Jonathan Williams.
Hi, sorry, just me. Hi, my name is Mallory Wentworth, and I am here from the office of Congresswoman Nikki Budzinski. I'm going to keep this really short and sweet and just make sure everyone knows that our office is now open in downtown Champaign. We're available to provide constituent services, help with grants, and just generally be a resource to the community in any way that we can be. Our office is at 44 East Main Street in Champaign, Suite 205, and we are led by our amazing Champaign-Urbana Director, Rachel Spencer. Don't hesitate to reach out if there's anything we can ever do to assist you, and we're really excited to be serving this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Nick Dale.
Okay, hi. My name is Nicholas Dale. I am a resident of Champaign, Illinois. I've tried to make a couple of FOIA requests and one public participation here to the county's email. For some reason, my email has been filtered as spam. I called the county executive's number and I left a message for Dave Busey, urging him to contact the IT department. I can't get through with any emails. I dropped by twice to the IT department. I left him a sticky note in my email. I still am unable to email the county. I tried to file a public participation, but I got the same kickback. The public participation was going to be this, but now I had to come here in person. And because of that, I had to file 2 Illinois Attorney General Public Access Council requests because I'm making the FOIA request, but I have no way to get through to you guys. I've tried to fix the issue, so I please urge you guys to encourage your IT department to fix the issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sarah Smith.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Walker. And this is my comrade, Sarah Smith, and we're together. We're here representing U of I Shauna Smith Post at the University of Illinois. We're here to request $10,000 to fund our project that for the stand down. Champaign County hasn't had a stand down since 2014, and we participated in that. We feel passionate that we would like to have one hosted because veterans are important. We both are combat vets, and homeless veterans are important for this community. Champaign County did a count in January, and they said that there was 137 veterans. I'm not sure, yeah, I'm kind of like confused, like I got all this.
137 homeless veterans, but they didn't say how many were veterans, right?
Yeah, they said there were 137 persons were homeless. I have all this, but the point I'm trying to make here is, it's our responsibility to take care of these veterans. And all this, I don't know, where's my stuff? We're asking for $10,000, and we have a breakdown on how we would like to spend that money.
A place to have it.
Yes.
So place to have it,
Well, for a venue, basically, I don't know if you guys know exactly what a stand down is, but it is basically, in layman's terms, it's a collaboration. As a homeless, it's a collaboration of a veteran resource menu. We will give, it's a way for veterans to come together to sponsor haircuts.
a meal.
Yeah, for the VA to get together to offer them resources as haircuts, a meal, VA benefits, so VA benefits, resources for counseling,
Job resources,
yes, job resources,
clothing possibly,
yes,
help with housing if needed,
yes,
resources for money if needed for childcare to go to job interviews.
yes.
This is your breakdown right there.
Yes, thank you so much, because I can't see what thank you. Yes, and so we have haircuts, hygiene, showers, backpacks, the venue, and to provide a comprehensive, it's just an opportunity for when we would like to work with the community and give them an opportunity to, just to come together and get them off the street. And we're gonna work with the VA and have, all of them to come together with us, the VA, housing, urban, I can't see, these aren't my glasses, these are my husband's, I'm sorry. We wanna provide bus tokens, you see it, I can't see with his glasses on. Oh, this is her. Okay, I'm sorry. So we would like to provide them lunch, haircuts, hygiene showers, bus tokens, passes. We would like to just have everyone come out in the community. We've posted with the high schools and things, if we're given the money, we have a host of people that we will work in collaboration with to get this thing started, to kick off with it. We want to do it in October, if provided the money. I can't see that if you can, but it was a success in the last time we did it. And throughout the state, other people are doing it, and I just don't understand why Champaign County hasn't done one. All the other people other agencies have done it, and it's a great loss for our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Robbie Walker.
You see, we're working kind of together. Go ahead, Nicole. Good evening, everybody. My name is Robbie Walker, and I have a team member here, Nicole Massey. We're here to talk about the program that we hope to get off the ground and help veterans in our area. Again, my name is Robbie Walker. I live in Urbana, worked 30 years for Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs. So I'm pretty versed with veterans and all their needs. After I retired in 2018, I opened up a private office in Rantoul. And so through that, by coming to the meetings and meeting some of you the last few meetings, I decided to put together a program to assist veterans with mental health issues, specifically PTSD. So we got a comprehensive program that myself, Nicole, and two of our other consultants put together to offer training and guidance, resources. We have linked up with the Illinois Veterans Administration in Danville, and they will support us with this endeavor. So our goal is to provide a combination of training, support with the capacity building to reduce violence in Champaign County caused by mental health, more specific PTSD, among veterans and their families. We want to educate the community as to what veterans go through and how this is so vital to their well-being, and also for the community to understand what triggers veterans after they serve tours in combat all over the world. So with that being said, we wanted to provide overall training. We have different intervals that we plan to train in, and we also have an amount of people that we hope to get to our program to provide those services. So we're hoping to get 50 veterans and their families to participate. That's our goal. And also to provide them with outreach, recruitment. We're going to do peer workshops. We'll have an advisory board, community advisory board of leaders. And also we plan to use the faith-based, we'll use clergy also with our training. I'll let Nicole speak as to what she will provide for the service.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Massey, and I'm an attorney here in this county. I work for Land of Lincoln Legal Aid, and I only represent veterans currently in a variety of civil legal issues. With the current housing crisis, the focus is, of course, on preventing homelessness, fighting evictions, but we also provide services when it comes to family law issues, consumer debt. In general, we address issues that affect the economic stability and the family structure. My focus, as I mentioned, is on veterans. And our office has a medical legal partnership with the VA in Danville. This is where most of my clients come from. Some of them struggle with mental health issues. Some of my clients are involved in the criminal justice system and then struggle with the problems that are caused by that, or sometimes their financial situation, not getting their benefits, having mental health issues, sometimes lead to them getting in touch with the criminal justice system. Currently, we do not have a veterans court in Champaign County that would address those issues. So with this program, we're hoping to kind of bridge the gap between the services that the VA in Danville provides for veterans here in the community, mainly especially after they receive treatment there. So we can provide more wraparound services here in the community in form of a holistic approach. What makes this program in a way unique is that this program is not only focused on the veteran, but also on the family that is most of the time also affected by issues that veterans struggle with. And family members in general do not have a lot of support outside in the community. It's a silent community, and I'm the spouse of a veteran, so I have the connections to other family members in the community. And of course, with the legal services that we provide, we see the need in the community, not only for legal services, but for the holistic approach and to really focus on the mental health issues and therefore prevent the violence in the community, violence against themselves or other community members or family members. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to serving you guys.
Thank you. And that is the last of the slips I have for public comment. Is there anybody else who would like to speak during public comment? All right, seeing none, next we have the consent agenda. Could I entertain a motion? Election, Goss? Any discussion? All right, seeing none, clerk, could you please call the roll?
Locke,
Yes.
Lockshin,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thorsland,
Yes.
Finish Theorenot,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Coert,
Yes.
Furtado,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
Ingram,
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes. Next, we have communications. Mr. Goss?
Yeah, I know we have in the crowd tonight an award for our coroner, Dwayne Northrup, so if the folks from Gift to Hope would come up and give that, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Good evening, County Board and Champaign County. It is a privilege to be here tonight. My name is Gina Martin, and I'm with Gift of Hope Organ and Tissue Network. It is National Organ and Tissue Donation Month, which means that we're celebrating all around the nation, that we're recognizing families that in their worst days give a gift. There's 104,000 people on a waiting list. If you need a kidney, it's 5 to 7 year wait. Organ and tissue donation is bitter and sweet. Bitter for those families that go through heartache, and yet hope for families that get the gift. I'm here tonight to recognize Coroner Dwayne Northrup and his staff in all that they do every day to help families share the gift of donation, but not only that, to walk them through their darkest days. I just have a question. Who in here thinks they have a hard job, difficult job? Anybody? I usually get a couple hands. Okay. A hard job, I feel, I've been doing this for 27 years, is the coroner's office. They have to knock on someone's door and change their life forever. And so tonight we just want to give this in appreciation and recognition of Champaign County Coroner Dwayne Northrup
for ensuring the opportunity for every individual and family to save and enhance lives through organ and tissue donation. Thank you for your exceptional partnership and commitment. We can't thank you enough, and I thank you so much for letting us be here tonight. Thank you so much. One last thing. I know, I was glad the clock wasn't ticking. I do want to let you know that last year, 17 families gave the gift of organ donation in this community. And that's a lot of phone calls to Dwayne's office, and it's a lot of grief for families to walk through, but they gave hope to others. So tonight, I'm going to leave you with this. Please talk to your family about your decision, because unfortunately, someday Dwayne will knock on your door at some point in our lives, and you'll want to know what your wishes were. Thank you so much, and God bless.
All right, thank you. Are there any other communications, Emily?
Yes, I just wanted to extend an invite to everyone in Champaign County. I know that we are having our annual Workers' Day Memorial Ceremony on Friday, April 28th, starting at 5 p.m. This is going to be held at the Champaign County Workers' Memorial Site in Dodds Park. That's at 501 North Mattis Avenue. We will be adding 2 names to the memorial in a wreath presentation. The first will be a rideshare driver, an aspiring veterinarian, Kristen Philpotts, and also biologist Kevin G. Chapman. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other communications? Brett?
May 20th is going to be the residential electronics collections again at Parkland. You can sign up again at the Champaign-Urbana websites. It's open to anybody in the county. And please do it early because everybody knows these slots go fast. Thank you.
Thanks. Are there any other communications?
Just a quick one. I know we mentioned Central Drama's musical last weekend. This weekend, Centennial Drama is putting on Grease through April 23rd. Shows are tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday at 7, and then Sunday the 23rd at 2 p.m. So go see Grease.
All right, anyone else? All right, seeing none, moving on. Could I have a motion for the approval of minutes from March 23rd, 2023, regular meeting, and the March 28th, 2023 study session? I got Locke and Rogers. Any discussion? Mr. Pugh.
Yes, for the March 23rd, 2023, on page 41, by the asterisk at the lower page, where it says new county board member, can I have my name put in there actually for the record? I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, I think we can make that happen. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on, we have the summary of action of the Highway and Transportation Committees, Environmental Land Use Committee. Next, we have a finance agenda item, adoption of resolution number 2023-93, authorizing disbursement of funds on defaulted contract for mobile home tax sale, permanent parcel 3006000032. Could I have a motion? Taylor, Thorson, any discussion?
So I apologize. I've just been swamped, but I did actually have an opportunity to speak with the treasurer today about this item. And essentially why it was defaulted is that they were not able to get the title work taken care of in that they basically couldn't get the title, the actual title. So that means it's defaulted. So what they're going to do is try to work out that issue, and then it'll come back probably to the board with the, if the same buyer wants it. If not, then yes, it would have to go through the process again. But my understanding is they still want it. It's just that the actual title they couldn't get. She said that these are very rare. She was right. We were right about that. And she doesn't know if in the past it was because of title issues, but that's what this one is.
All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, next we have adoption of resolution number 2023-94, authorizing payment of claims. Do I have a motion? Taylor? Furtado? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. Next is adoption of resolution number 2023-95, approving the proclamation designating the week of May 7th as National Correctional Officer Week. Do I have a motion? Taylor, Locke? Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. Next, we have adoption of resolution number 2023-96, approving the proclamation designating the week of May 14th as National Police Week. Do I have a motion? Mr. Goss, Taylor? Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? All right, that passes. Next, we have adoption of resolution number 2023-97, approving budget amendment BUA 2023-4-211 Fund 2932 Indoor Climate Resource Agency, Department 932 Indoor Climate Resources Agency, increased appropriation $189,000, increased revenue $189,000. The reason is transition costs to administer the IHWAP training through the existing ICRT team. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Ingram, Taylor, any discussion? All right, seeing none, clerk, can you please call the roll?
Locke,
Yes.
Lakshin,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thorsland,
Yes.
Banish Thiernot,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Cowart,
Yes.
Furtado,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
Ingram,
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes. Next on the agenda, we have American Rescue Plan Act, update from the ARPA project manager.
Good evening. We've included the regular updates to the project chart. We continue to have projects that get to completion and have more work done, and so we've updated that. We've updated the financial totals. And then we're currently working on the quarterly reporting that's due April 30th to the Department of Treasury. So we're compiling that. And I also want to mention that in May, we'll be providing kind of a more in-depth status update for the broadband projects. So I can address any questions you might have or try to.
Does anybody have any questions? All right, doesn't look like it. All right, next we have the adoption of resolution number 2023-98, authorizing an amendment to intergovernmental agreement with the Central Illinois Land Bank Authority. Could I have a motion?
Second.
Carter, Taylor. Any discussion?
Just as a point of clarification, remember, I think it was the last full board meeting, we had thumbs up the $60,000 for them to actually administer, like, their landscape of proposals. This is adding that to their agreement. I'm going to be real honest, I didn't realize we had to do an IGA with them. I guess maybe because it's a conglomeration of government agencies, so, but that's why we have Kathy, because she remembers, she knows. So I didn't realize this had to come back before the board, because I didn't realize they fell into the IGA category. When it's an MOU, we don't see them again. Kathy just goes forth and does them, so.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. Next is the sheriff's request for ARPA funding. We do have a memo. Does not look like the sheriff is here tonight. Is there any discussion?
So basically, as the memo describes, if you remember, we gave ARPA money for the command post, but we would, ideally like our radios to be able to talk to the command post. And there's a tie-in piece that we didn't realize we needed. So that's an additional $6,913.48. So that's what he's asking us for money for.
All right, any other discussion? Now, this is something that we don't formally vote on it, but if we could just have a sort of straw poll, is this something we're okay with having the administration move forward on? Okay. All right, next is the Skelton Park Transformation Project.
Good evening. My name is Tim Oravec. I am the Community Development Manager for Visit Champaign County. I'm here on behalf of Jane DeLuce. She just got back from a trip to Washington, D.C., where she was advocating for various Champaign County projects, including the African American Heritage Trail. And I'm also joined by Sarah Sandquist, the Executive Director of the Champaign Park District. I believe there's a memo in your packet describing the request that we are respectfully submitting for $150,000 toward the African American Heritage Trail. Again, we are requesting that $100,000 of that go toward the Skelton Park transformation, in addition to $50,000 for general Heritage Trail purposes. And so I just want to take a few minutes today to describe in a little bit more detail exactly what this project is about, and hopefully answer any questions if you have them today. So first, the idea of this project, the African American Heritage Trail, emerged in 2020. Visit Champaign County was approached with a request to work collaboratively with the community to install a mural somewhere in the neighborhood that recognizes and celebrates African American history. From that request, conversations were had with partners, with community members, and there was a recognition that more than a mural was needed to do justice to the history and the contributions of African Americans here in Champaign County. The idea expanded over time into what we are now calling the African American Heritage Trail. Most people, when they hear the title, assume this is a hiking trail. While we do hope to develop trails that people will enjoy on foot and on bus, really the way that I think about this, and I believe it's included in the memo, is as more of a distributed museum in which our landscape and our buildings are the artifacts and exhibits that people will enjoy and learn about. And the community members are the ones who are telling their stories, telling the stories of their ancestors, telling the stories of this community, and sharing that history with each other, as well as hopefully the nation and the world. And as I mentioned, we have been working with community members and collaborators from around the county. In addition to Visit Champaign County and a number of organizational partners, we have been working with a committee of approximately 30 community members and volunteers. This committee is spearheaded by the two women you see on the screen today, Angela Rivers and Barbara Suggs-Mason. They have been wonderful collaborators, great visionaries, great historians. Angela Rivers is a fairly accomplished artist. Barbara Suggs-Mason is a fairly accomplished educator. And when I say fairly, I'm understating it. They're very accomplished. And we've been really lucky to be able to work with them on this. So just to go over some of the various components of this very big, very complex project. First is our website. This website is live today, ccafricanamericanheritage.org. This is really the central hub of the history and the information that we are learning about with the committee and with the research. We're very proud of this website, although we do recognize that over time more updates will be needed for this website. So it's a constant work in progress as we learn more and as we develop this project. Additionally, interpretive signage is a major piece of this project. As I mentioned, we want to develop trails that people will enjoy, and part of that vision is to install a number of signs throughout the county that will kind of anchor the history and give people a route for understanding the different historical places, moments, people, and events that occurred here. The image on the left there, that's our first sign that was installed in downtown Champaign outside of Big Grove Tavern. That's where in the 1860s Frederick Douglass actually came to speak. And we are expecting to have 2 more signs installed next week and hope to have several more installed hopefully in the months ahead. Additionally, there are a number of immersive and interactive components that we are working on moving forward. Art is a major piece of local African American history, and we want to honor that history by installing more and working with local artists on various traditional murals, freestanding murals like the one you see there, possibly other kinds of installations. We have already worked with the Champaign Park District on what we call the moving mural. This is a MTD bus that has been wrapped in a mural that reflects the history of Douglass Park and Center. And you may be seeing that going around this summer for various activities, and we hope to use that with other trail-related activities. And then education is another central component of this. We want to bring this history into the classroom. We want our community to know about this, not just with the signs, not just with the website, but we want them to actually be interacting with this as children through high school. And I mentioned one of our co-chairs, Barbara Sliggs Mason, is an educator, and so she's been very knowledgeable and very helpful with that component. Finally, one of our signature projects that we're focused on, and as I mentioned, is one of the central aspects of the request here today, is the transformation of Skelton Park. Skelton Park is a 1.4 acre pocket park at 82 East Washington Street, just outside of downtown Champaign. It's a lovely space, but in my opinion, it is underutilized. There's not a whole lot there. This project is going to transform this space into a state-of-the-art park, performance area, plaza, and community space that will not only transform that area, draw attention to it, make it more inviting, but the concept is to tie it into the Heritage Trail by using it to recognize and celebrate the heritage of local African American musicians. We have been working with Preston Jackson, who you see in the middle photo. He is a sculptor with ties to this roots. He's developing a sculpture that you see there that will reflect that musical heritage. The Visit Champaign County Foundation has already paid for that sculpture. There will be interactive musical instruments, there will be new trails, lighting. As I mentioned, there will be a plaza developed for small performances. This is really going to be an exciting amenity for the community and for the county as a whole. We do have a number of partners already that are supporting this project. I'll start, the Champaign Park District, of course, has been very closely involved in plans for this. City of Champaign will be contributing to this and also doing some development on the Boneyard Creek. Rotary Club of Champaign has supported it, and then we did recently receive a grant from the Illinois Office of Tourism to support the Heritage Trail as a whole. And we will be using some of those funds through the Visit Champaign County Foundation to advance this project here at Skelton Park. That said, this is a big project, the park. This is a big project, the trail as a whole. Additional support is needed to do justice to the vision. And with the grant that we received from the Illinois Office of Tourism, we do need additional match funds to fully utilize that. So support from the county here would allow us to tap into that that additional grant funds that currently are kind of in a holding pattern right now. And just finally, I just want to acknowledge, the attention that this project has gotten. These are just some of the headlines that we've received. We have heard from a number of members of the public. This is something people are excited about, and we would love an opportunity to work with the county and literally bring you into the story here. So thank you for that. If you have any questions, happy to answer them. Otherwise, again, thank you for the time.
First, I'd just like to say this is awesome. African Americans have contributed so much to Champaign County. I've heard my ancestors speak on them, and I think this is awesome that there will be actual place where you can see some of the contributors from the African American community placed. My question is, would you just leave like those pictures up for a certain amount of time? How often would you switch them out? Like, I don't know how, I'm just asking a question, but I don't know how often would you, will that stay like that with?
Yes.
Okay.
We want these to be permanent signs.
Okay.
When we are working, so when we work with the city of Champaign on this one, we want the sign to be there forever. Obviously, with time, it may need to be updated, but, we want that to stay there.
It'll be a permanent staple?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
What is the sign on the right?
Oh, yes. Great question. So the larger sign that you see on the left, that's kind of the main attraction that we're working on, and we want to have a number of those throughout. There are some other locations where, for one reason or another, having the larger sign may not make sense. So the sign on the right, this is a smaller plaque. That home is actually, it's also in Champaign. It is the former home of Albert R. Lee. He was one of the first African Americans hired by the University of Illinois, was there for a number of decades, highly influential in advocating for African American students, for their housing, for resources. And so we were able to get in touch with the property owner there, and he did agree to allow us to install a smaller sign recognizing that history.
Thank you. Just one quick question. You said that you guys received a grant from the Illinois Office of Tourism and that you have to get matched funds. How much do you need?
Approximately $150,000.
Mr. Wilson?
Hey, thanks for being here. Thanks for all your hard work. When do you think the project, would you like to see the project completed by?
So it's a difficult question to answer because it is kind of an ongoing project. Skelton Park, we would love to see it started this summer. I'm going to look to Sarah, and hopefully if it starts this summer, I think we can wrap it up within the year. Is that correct? Yep. So for Skelton Park, we would like to see it completed this year. For the project as a whole, so we would like to make considerable progress on those signs by the end of 2024. That is the grant term that we're working with, so that gives us a reason to work with that. That said, this is the kind of project that we want this to be an ongoing part of what we do at Visit Champaign County. So once we have Skelton Park completed, once we have signs in the ground, we will be thinking of other ways to engage the community, either with additional signs, programs. We'll see kind of what the needs are and how we can be helpful then.
Thank you. Beth.
Hi. I'm curious if you've reached out to the Champaign County Genealogical Society. As you know, the Urbana Library has an extensive collection there, and it's a lot of history, including African-American history of people who've lived in the county, and I feel like it would be a great partner for this, because as people go around and learn the history of the county, they're going to want to know, does my family fit in and where? And it would be beneficial, I think, to both of you if you had like a reciprocal website. I know they already have something posted on their website for the Heritage Trail, and having that a link to them as well might increase traffic there and increase more interest in the trail itself.
Yes, thank you for that. Yes, we have been working with the Urbana Free Library. They have contributed to some of the content that we have planned for additional signs. There are discussions about working together on oral histories and doing some of that research. So yes, they're an amazing resource. Glad they're here in the community, and thank you for thinking of that.
Thanks. This is a great project. This is, Salton Park is pretty close to my district. If not, I could probably spit and hit it, I think, from our district. So once again, excited about the idea here. You mentioned a holding pattern from alternative funding sources. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so that was in reference to the match funds that are required for the grant. And so the grant requires that we be able to match whatever they provide. We are approximately $150,000 short of what they are willing to provide. And so when I said holding pattern, that's essentially what I meant, is that unless we get those match funds, we will not be able to access the additional 150,000 or so that would take us to the cap of what they're offering.
And just so a little background here, like, how did this get here? If you recall, we gave about $500,000 to the Urbana Parks District, and all throughout last year, I think every other board meeting, Mr. McGuire was like, what about Champaign Parks? What about Champaign Parks? So after we did that, I had an opportunity, Lee and I sat down with the new Champaign Parks Director, Sarah, and the sort of the focus of the Parks Department's original ask was the Martin Center. That's built, so I don't think we need to, they built it. So we were like, what else you got? And this project came up. We ended up having a conversation that instead of giving it to the Parks Department, giving it to Visit Champaign County because they have this grant. To me, it seemed like it hit a lot of things. We were able to do a project with the Parks Department. It's actually the whole county. One of the things that ARPA funds talked about is helping us think about tourism post the pandemic. How do we open it back up again? I think, and that was spoken to in the memo. But the other thing that we have, as a board, have said over and over is that we want to be able to leverage other grant funds, right? That the ARPA funding that we have isn't enough to do everything that we want to do. And this is an actual opportunity for us to not only, if we give this money, but to bring another $150,000 in. So to me, it seemed like it hit a lot of things, we got to bring the Champaign Parks District on board, but also in a way that can impact the whole county. So I said, hey, let's let the board at least hear about it.
All right, anybody else? All right, it looks like we, again, like the previous one, there's no need to take a formal vote, but we do need to give direction to the administration on whether we would, like this funded with ARPA funds. Stephanie, can you speak to what category this would come out of? I believe it's, sorry.
That's what I was going to ask.
I don't know what category it would come from. I don't know if we have, it could come from, the county could spend up to $10 million on kind of whatever we want because of revenue replacement, and we haven't hit that. We haven't hit that cap yet. I do think maybe that there could be an argument to be made around that idea of like helping people get up off the ground again post-pandemic with tourism. But yeah.
I think I meant more like we've already, is what's unallocated at this point, like which bucket would make sense if we've already allocated to be either.
We still just have $600,000
Oh, okay.
or $500,000, we've been nibbling away at it. That's just not allocated at all. We have interest money that's not allocated. So I don't know. Kathy, if you have any other thoughts.
Yeah, the 500,000 is in the to be determined under county department projects. So it could come from there, like you said, or you could also justify it under community violence intervention if you want it to fall under there.
I think so.
So those would be the two primary ones.
All All right, so I guess, we'll do another straw poll on whether we want to fund this. It'd be 150,000. Thumbs up, thumbs down. All right.
I want to have just one question.
Yeah.
I believe it would be appropriate to at least designate what fund it comes out of, since isn't there a meeting on Monday for community violence
Right.
intervention? I bet you have more in that request than you have allocated.
We
So I
do.
don't think it would be appropriate to take this request out of the community violence intervention program.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
If there are no objections, I think that if we have unallocated funds, it should probably come out of that category. Okay, thank you, Kathy. Next, there are some representatives from the city of Champaign. Is that right? There you go. To kind of speak on the memo that we have on our desks, the white one.
And to Jeff's point, one of the reasons, we're not voting on this today or anything like that, but one of the reasons we wanted to bring this before the board is anticipation of potentially voting on it in May. And it's a big ask, so we felt like the board needed some time to sit with it. We had put, if you recall, if you could cast your mind back that far, and for new board members, we had put $500,000 per district into water infrastructure projects. And there's still $2 million left in that pot of money. We have already allocated the money for the 4, which at the time were the 4 rural districts. In addition, we had given money for that helicopter that flew around and looked at the Muhammad Aquifer, and we put money into the home hazardous waste project, and we gave money to cover crops with the Farm Bureau. So when you add all that up, and then we took a little bit of the money that we originally allocated and diverted it instead to broadband to get us to the $10 million. So we have $2 million left. So like my district hasn't given away our money yet. I mean, I guess some of it went to the helicopter. So what we've discussed is the folks that haven't given the money away yet, what we'd like to do is invest it in Garden Hills. So that Garden Hills water project is $70 million total, right? And in conversations with the city of Champaign, they feel that the actual water infrastructure, they have a good funding plan for, but some of the things that go on top of the water, the lights and the sidewalks and things of that nature, they don't. And so they put together a package of different potential proposals that we could use this money to address. If we think about it, probably we would have to switch the category of that money from water to community violence. This would not impact the existing community violence. It would just be how we think about it and how we report it. But I know we've had a lot of conversations that we feel pretty strongly that we want to invest in Garden Hills. And so this is what the city brought to us. And so I will give it to you. So just so you know why they're here and why I did think it was important for us to discuss it, because it's a pretty, it's a big ask. It's one of the bigger asks that we're going to be hearing. And we're going into the community violence meeting on Monday. So I feel like having this in our minds and understanding it will be important to that conversation. So I didn't want to wait till after the Monday meeting. But this would require an IGA. So we have time to think about it. We cannot, this will require a formal vote because you're another governmental agency. So we can't even thumbs up this if we wanted to. So, but I thought since we have ARPA on the agenda starting the conversation, we got the memo because I want the board to have a chance to sit with it because there's a lot. But with that, if you all want to introduce yourselves and tell us what you got going on.
Okay, sure. I'm Alex Dodge, Assistant City Engineer with the Public Works Department, Project Manager on the Garden Hills Drainage Improvement Project.
And I'm Kay Neese. I'm the Finance Director for the City of Champaign.
So just want to give maybe just a quick overview of the project, just kind of give you a feel. Fortunately, we don't have any slides to show you, but I think in your packet you may have a diagram or a picture of the project. But similar to boneyard projects or big drainage projects that the city of Champaign does. There is the drainage component that we're trying to solve, flooding problems in Garden Hills, which Hedge Road floods pretty badly up around Garden Hills School. Those areas are pretty significant flooding areas within the neighborhood. So there is that drainage component that we're trying to achieve. But on top of that, we're trying to also build a park area in between the two detention basins that hold the water. And that's kind of the focus of what the ask is here. We'll have a basketball court there, play areas, I think a water feature for a splash pad, storytelling area. So those are the kind of components that'll be incorporated in that park area. But along with that, there will be a sidewalk and walk path around the whole basin, lighting that goes along with that, which is a safety feature as part of the project and the overall Garden Hills neighborhood. We're doing a lighting project as well too. And then fencing is the third component that we're asking. It kind of sets the backdrop and the landscape features, it defines the look of the project basically. So those are the three, I guess, major components of that. But in addition to that, this, if you're familiar with what's going on out there right now, there's the Hedge Pop Park, which is the temporary park that's was actually built last year. This area, the space, is going to replace the Hedge Pop Park area, become that permanent feature for the Garden Hills neighborhood. So that's what we're talking about there is phase 2 of the project. That's kind of focused on the south side of the tracks along the Hedge Road corridor. There'll be a third phase of the project that extends storm sewer up to the Garden Hills school area, and that will pick up the drainage and the flooding problems up in there. And it will include sidewalks, street reconstruction, and lighting as well too. So I don't know, Kay, if you want to talk, I guess we can talk numbers if you want, but sidewalks, we're looking at $920,000 for sidewalks and walk paths around the basin. About $1.2 million in lighting would be included. And then ornamental fencing, which is kind of the backdrop of the, separates the train, the Norfolk Southern Railroad tracks from the basin area. And that's about $1.1 million total. So we've kind of given in the table some combinations of those three components to where you can pick and choose, I guess, if you want to. But sidewalks and lighting would be about $2.1 million. The sidewalks with the ornamental fencing is a little over $2 million. Lighting with the ornamental fence would be 2.4, and then all three components, if you chose to go that route, is about 3.3 million in total. So yeah, it's pretty pricey items, but they are a key component, in our opinion, of the project, both from a safety and park aesthetics perspective.
Stephanie?
I do have one question. On your memo, you have phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, and you have phase 2 starting in 2023 and phase 3 starting in 2025. What you just outlined, those different components, do those span both phase 2 and phase 3, or are those all phase 2?
It would be all phase 2.
Okay.
Yes.
I just asked because one of the things with the ARPA money is we have to have it like designated to be spent by 2024 and spent by 2026. So
Yes.
2025 would give me a lot of pause, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I just
Well,
want to make sure that it was concentrated in
Yes, and just to
2023.
be clear on that, we also have, the city has ARPA components in there
Right.
too, and we're under the same deadline to
Right,
get done
okay.
by December of 2026.
And can you landscape, I threw out a figure, what is the entire project?
So the entire project, when we looked at it originally, we were estimating it to be about 40 million for phases 2 and 3. However, since that time, obviously with inflation and a few other factors, we're seeing the project cost increase, which is why this contribution is so important as we've seen some of these project cost increases.
Anybody else? Samantha?
Thank you. Could someone tell me what the original date for this, the enhancements to Garden Hills was proposed for?
So the drainage study, are you going back to the drainage study or the, 2016 was the completion of the original drainage study for Garden Hills.
But the proposed date to get the enhancements done was it 2040?
It's
Oh,
moved a few times
Right.
over the years. When it originally started,
That was the
it
original
was,
start.
yeah, it was way out there, and then we worked to move it up in, I want to say, around the 2018-19 time period. We moved it up to where we could get it started in 2030, 2031 time period. And then recently, with the addition of ARPA funds and, a few other things that we've done along the way, we've now moved it up where it's starting hopefully later on this year. So right now, I think we're targeting end of summer to really start construction on this project.
And I want to thank you guys for the urgency to move this project along. I don't think you guys, anybody in this room lives in a neighborhood where there is not a park amenity. I think it's very crucial to have those in, especially African-American communities where we see a lot of violence. And I feel like this space would make a lot of friendships would be created in these spaces, as far as getting out and exercising, to see your surrounding be beautified does a lot to one's mental as well. And for so long, Garden Hills has been just forgot about. And I remember the first city council meeting that I attended where you guys were talking about the 2040 date. I just was in shock because I'm like, wait a minute, we need this done now. So I just really want to thank you guys for all that you've done. Even with the Hedge Park last summer, we had so much fun. This is my district, of course. And just to see kids playing outside with their parents, having space where they can run around and have fun and just be kids, that was just truly amazing. I am very excited with the plans. I am definitely going to advocate that the board hopefully can contribute as much money as possible so we can get this project completed. So thank you all so much. I know you've been with the city how many years?
Almost 20.
Right, so I've been attending city council meetings probably about 15 years. And so I know you've worked tiresome on this project. And I just want to thank you guys. How long have you been with the city?
About 7 years now.
About 7 years, okay. Well, thank you for your work as well. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Jenny? Oh.
I
I think we still had a few more
It's not a
questions.
question. You can go back to your seats if you want. It's just a quick, I was able to visit the Hedge Pop Park last summer too. It really was a joyful space, and I'm happy to see that becoming a permanent feature in the neighborhood. I do think it will contribute to friendships and getting to know neighbors and things that we seem to have lost over the last, I don't know how many years now. And I would support something like this too when it comes time to vote for it.
All right, any other questions before the building comes down? Mr. Goss?
Yeah, just a quick question. I assume, I was working on trying to get cover crops to grow out here last year, and we didn't get a drop of rain after we planted them. Is this on the east end? The sidewalk rendering is on the east end of,
That is,
or is that in the center? I'm having a hard time orienting if you look at the drawing.
that is, if you're familiar with Garden Hills Drive, that's right where
Where it turns.
Yeah, that's Hedge Court, but this is right where the sidewalk crosses the railroad track. So it's basically in the middle of between Hedge Court and Mattis Avenue.
So it is currently a sidewalk across there?
Yes.
Okay, I evidently missed that, because I was going to ask if there was any concern of safety. Obviously, a new installation, but if it's already there, it's already there.
There's,
I was trying to dodge other things out there
Sure.
that day when I was out there with a tractor, so I didn't see the sidewalk going across.
There is, yes. And, there's some railroad requirements that we have to meet to get a new crossing across there. So we're working through that,
Okay.
among other things, so.
My only question, thank you.
Okay, yep.
This is maybe more a question for the board. I think I expressed this earlier, is for me, so we have $2 million left in that pot. I think what Kathy would probably appreciate is some direction, so that when she comes back to the full board with like the proposal, that she hasn't wasted a bunch of her time. I mean, I would be comfortable allocating that amount to this project. And then I also think, just frankly, the sidewalk and the lighting is what's the most attractive to me, because that is, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not against ornamental fencing, but in terms of like promoting community safety, sidewalks and lighting is, to me, especially the lighting, seems really fundamental to promoting community safety. So I just wanted to express that, but maybe other board members could also express where they are in their thoughts.
Yeah, unless Jenny wants to go first. Okay, yeah, I'll echo what Samantha has said, times 10. I did a lot of get out the vote in this area, and oddly enough, way back in the dark ages, a lot of Garden Hills was in District 1. When I'd try to beat all the Republicans out there, we would campaign heavily in Garden Hills because we thought we might find a vote or two out there, and we got a lot. But this is a way overdue project, and sharing a lot of the water resource part of the ARPA money. This is one of the proposals I think we can really get behind. Because the water part is well along, I'll echo what Stephanie said. The sidewalk and lighting, I think, is something that we should contribute to this, and diverting some of that water money, I think, would be a good plan to do, even though it's not directly related to the water projects anymore. I think they would be a very worthy cause and way, way overdue. Next, Dobbins Downs.
Jenny?
Mine was just logistical, like if we're talking about this as diverting water money, like to Mr. Wilson's point earlier, this doesn't pull into the Monday meeting, okay.
I just wanted to echo my seatmates, thanks to y'all for speeding this up, and the sense of urgency that I think I felt from very specifically some people in the city, including y'all. This has been, there's a lot of talk about this and a lot of meetings had and a lot of frustration about the timeline, and having seen it sped up has been great. That pop-up park was really awesome last year. It was fun to go by. I run by there once a week usually, and then I will end up being out there quite a bit when it's raining because there's a lot of drains to rake. And honestly, we just need the drainage to actually go down because it's really fun when you rake the drain and communicate. Yes, I'll get a text that says I can't leave the house. But yes, so thank you for the work on that. I'm very supportive of kind of wherever we go with this, but I do agree with the making sure that the sidewalks and the lighting are a big thing. There was a bit last year where the railroad tracks were being maintained on Mattis, and there was no crossing either direction, and that meant a lot of people driving through Garden Hills probably for the first time, and there was a lot of people driving fast through because they were then feeling that they were late. And when you're doing that at dusk, when kids are out playing and there's no sidewalks and there's no lighting for anybody to see, it created a very, very dangerous situation. So I'm very excited about that neighborhood just getting any sort of love because, as Samantha said, when you see your neighborhood actually get some attention and some love, it makes you feel a lot better about where you live. Thank you.
Mr. Wilson?
I was glad to hear that Eric wanted that district to go back into District 1. I thought that was awesome. Thought you were showing me love there. So I do support this project, but this is my recommendation, Stephanie. Prior to just tagging it to one item, it maybe would be prudent to go scrub all the items and see what money is really not being spent and what pool is really there. Because I would imagine, where's project manager, that there's probably some projects that are either woefully not spending or maybe actually not planning on spending all the money that is there.
Definitely, and that is, under the new executive, I'm meeting quarterly with Kathy, so we're about due for another meeting, and we talk through all of the projects, and that is one of the things, with all of, just for example, with all of the water projects, Shout out to the Muhammad Project, it's moving. Some of the other projects we've given money to so far, it's kind of hanging out. So we might, we're gonna need to, I might be reaching out to individual board members to reach out, to help us reach out to folks to make sure that they move. Also the same thing on the programmatic things that we've done. We're gonna continue to get updates. I know I talked to the Farm Bureau. They're excited to do an update about their cover crop project. I think they want us to maybe come out there. Might invite some board members to come out so we could actually see it. But yes, definitely, that is something we're doing, and something that Mr. Goss and I talk about a lot, is that we are going to be doing that. I don't want to hold up any particular project. I think we should spend the money that isn't allocated right now. In case you haven't been paying attention, there's been some noises in Congress about trying to sweep some of the money back. Let me be clear, that's never going to happen. They don't have the votes for that. But I think if we as a county want to ensure it doesn't happen, let's get it all allocated, right? Let's get it locked down. So I think, but to your point, yes, I 100% agree that continuing to take money that if it isn't being expended, and having a conversation in the board about where do we put it, and I think this would be a fantastic candidate. I think we could put as much money into broadband as we have and still not have enough. I mean, I think there's several candidates, but this project is, I think it would be a fantastic candidate for that kind of sweep. But to your point, yes, 100%, I agree that that's something we need to be on top of.
Just one more follow-up, and I do support this, but my challenge is understanding what the consequence of that support is. So I suppose you're saying that, what I'm interpreting you saying, what I'm hearing you say, that there are $2 million unallocated, and therefore that's the pool of money you're drawing from. Is that correct?
So there's $2 million that are unallocated that we as a board specifically put towards water infrastructure. And what we did was we have 11 districts. We put $500,000 in each district. We've already spent, well, you could look on the chart, but we spent $2 million on rural water district projects, and then those 3 additional ones, the helicopter, the home hazardous waste, and the cover crops, right? Essentially, to be, and also we gave $60,000 extra for Seymour's meters. Essentially, what we did was, just to be honest, like each of the rural districts funded $500,000 in each district. What the urban districts did was pool their money and pick projects. Some of the projects, I mean, like the cover crop project is actually a rural project, but we put money back into that. We also gave some of our money back, a little bit of our money back to the broadband, because we wanted to make that whole at 10 million. So essentially, I guess what we're discussing right now is, do we want to take that water money that we allocated for the urban water district, or urban districts for water infrastructure, and instead put it to the stuff on top of the water infrastructure, the sidewalks? But it's that pot of money. That's the pot of money that we're talking about.
And at the time when we were discussing this, it's been a while. I believe we collectively, the urban districts, decided that we wanted to pull specifically for that Garden Hills project, if that's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, anybody else? All right, do we want to give direction to Kathy? Okay. I heard a few people mention interest. If you look at the, I don't think there's page numbers, on the table at the bottom, it's sidewalk and lighting. It's $2,159,000. Does anybody else have any alternative suggestions, or, yeah?
Did Kathy say we would see a clearer financial picture of where we're at your guys' next meeting? You say next month in May, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, every month it gets a little bit more clear, right?
Okay.
But what we have to do, because this is another government agency, we have to actually formally vote on, like, an agreement. So we can begin to have Kathy work, if we want to move in this direction, we could have her begin to work on that agreement, but would have to come to this body for a formal vote, just like all of the water projects did, because it has an IGA. Like, we could thumbs up the Visitors Bureau, should visit Champaign County, but we can't thumbs up government agencies.
Okay, so if we allocate or just thumbs up the 2.1 million right now, then can we tell the city where we may be able to add more at a later date? Could we give them like?
Oh, yeah, with all of these projects, if we want to put more money to anything that we're doing, we could always come back as a body and amend it later. But yeah, I don't see any reason why we should. I think right now what we have on the table is $2 million. I think we should, if we want to try to give direction towards allocating that $2 million. If people ask me all the time, like, what keeps me up at night with ARPA, that's a big chunk of money that's not allocated. I think we need to start moving in a direction. If we're not moving in this direction, then we need to decide what direction we're moving in. Because it's not fair to Kathy. I mean, because putting these kind of things together takes a lot of time.
Beth?
So do we just want to kind of give her the heads up that, yeah, she can start working on the IGA? Or since we can't talk about money, we can at least say, yeah, okay.
We can talk about money. I'm just saying we have to formally vote.
Yeah,
We have
yeah.
to formally vote, yeah.
All right, Eric?
Just real briefly, I think that one of the benefits of this is that the city of Champaign's working this. We don't have to work it. We allocate this money. We know it's going to get spent before the deadlines. And again, going back to the water projects, I think that, this is water project adjacent enough that it should probably come out of that fund. And I think we should give Kathy the direction to work on this IGA.
So I know Stephanie had mentioned that the sidewalks and streetlights is awfully close to that 2 million. Are we saying we want to allocate that 2 million, or are we saying we want to try to allocate for that specific project and come up with another 159? I would personally lean towards let's allocate 2 million. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have the 2 million. We know we have the 2 million. Let's allocate the 2 million. And I should also say, the other project out of all of the water projects that to me, if the two projects to me, if we have extra money that I would see us putting money towards, would be this project and also the Muhammad people's water that catches on fire when they turn their sinks on. Those to me, and that's another. How expensive is that, Jim? 15 million, $20 million, right? So these two are also, just to be blunt, the two biggest projects, the water catching on fire and the floods in a historically underserved area. If we have extra money that is left over from the other projects, those to me are the ones that are, not that the other projects aren't important, that they are. A lot of them are a lot smaller. Those two are massive projects that I feel like there's a moral culpability towards, and that in some cases there's been bad actors. I mean, I would argue in, the Muhammad case, there was a bad private actor. And just to be blunt, in the Garden Hills case, the government, both us, before it was, this is important to know, Garden Hills was annexed over many, many years into Champaign. So the county underdeveloped that area. And then, quite frankly, the city did for generations. And this is a chance to try to right some of, neither the folks in Muhammad with their water catching on fire or the people living in Garden Hills where there's streets flood and there's no street lights. It's not their fault. And we as a county can't fix all of that, but we have some money. And I think we could say, we're going to give what we have to try to stand in the gap of what I think, quite frankly, in some of these cases in our county are moral obligations.
All right, so what I'm hearing is that the direction that we should give Kathy for the intergovernmental agreement with Champaign that we would need to vote on next month would be $2 million towards the sidewalk and lighting projects. Is that, any objections? All right. All right. All right, next on the agenda, we have the Illinois Broadband Lab.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for having us. My name is Adrienne Pickett. I'm a visiting coordinator for broadband with the Illinois Broadband Lab, and I brought my colleague. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, Nancy Woodrogo with University of Illinois Extension.
And I know we've been here a while, so I don't want to keep us longer than we need to be here. And we've got a formal PowerPoint presentation, but the essence of it is that we're working on broadband, and we're going to have available within the state of Illinois, throughout the entire state of Illinois, lots of funding for broadband deployment, for digital equity, from adoption, providing computing devices to residents, to building out reliable broadband throughout the state. There's just a lot happening, so we just wanted to go over a few things with you all. So, and this is based on the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, the bipartisan bill that was passed in 2021. As you all are probably familiar with, 1.2 trillion was passed to cover a lot of the infrastructure needs that are visible around the country, right? So from clean water to rebuilding roads and bridges. But a key thing that we want to focus on and that our office focuses on is high-speed internet. So the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, NTIA, they are the ones administering these grants in altogether the amount of around $48 billion through these 4 different programs. So we have a broadband equity access and deployment program, also known as BEAD. So that's $42.45 billion. Digital equity, $2.75 billion. There's tribal connectivity in the amount of $2 billion. And middle mile, so $1 billion, and there are descriptors of what this looks like as well. And in addition to what the NTIA is supporting, we have on top of that what FCC administers, which is the Affordable Connectivity Program. That, if you're unfamiliar, it replaced the emergency broadband benefit, where people that qualify and are eligible can receive a discounted rate of internet service and a discounted rate one time for a computing device. So in addition, USDA is the $2 billion that's going toward rural utility services, and also the private activity bonds, $0.6 billion. So BEAD, together BEAD and DE, they're addressing a lot of the needs that we've seen across the country that have been laid bare since the pandemic, or that were clear but became even clearer as a result of the pandemic. And so this is where the investment is coming in to provide better access, higher quality, better speeds to people that are trying to access the internet. Affordability has been a major barrier to people being able to adopt internet solutions that work for them. But we're also focused on digital skills training, and this is particularly important as we're thinking about upskilling as it relates to workforce development, and just in general usage, right? Knowing how to use tools, technological tools, so that you can communicate online and do it in a safe way. Briefly, just the timeline of what we're looking at. So what the state of Illinois is engaged in right now is a listening tour. Last week, actually, we were in Champaign and in Danville, so in East Central Illinois. Some of you I was able to meet at the Champaign Farm Bureau. Thanks so much for coming out. But what we're needing to do is, in addition to collecting sort of the quantitative data, those numbers that are available to us, we are trying to learn about the stories that people have as it relates to their broadband barriers, their stories of being disconnected, and how it's affecting their lives. This is part of the application that we're putting together for BEAD and digital equity funding so that the state of Illinois can receive, and we're expecting close to $1 billion. Okay. As I said, we have quite a few slides here, but trying to move quickly through them. And we could make the presentation available to all of you. I'm sorry, was there a question? Yes. I did, okay. Absolutely. So BEAD is going to, that's a great point. So the BEAD program, the $42.45 billion, it's going to prioritize unserved areas first. And so looking at, for example, those without high-speed internet, which FCC defines as 25 megabits per second download and 3 megabits per second upload, and then the latency that you see there. So that's where the funds will be addressing first. Second, looking at eligible entities, underserved locations. So you might have the 25 by 3 speeds, but what the state is aiming to do is to get everyone to 100 to 20 megabits per second and improved latency issues. And then finally, eligible entities, that's another important part. So partnerships with community anchor institutions, be it schools, libraries, hospitals, and empowering them to have the high-speed internet that they need in order to work with the most vulnerable populations, making sure that people have access to internet by those means. So the BEAD program is really meant to address unserved first, underserved sort of being the next layer. And then after that, it's just a way, the formula actually is how the funds get allocated. And so as part of our tour, we've been engaging with different stakeholder communities. So from telecom providers, community anchor institutions, different community organizations, local governments, and coming before county boards such as this one. It's something that we've been engaged in, and we're happy to do and answer any questions that we can. And again, our timeline for when we're expecting funds to hit the ground, it would be around this time next year. We're in the process of drafting our BEAD application because we're on this listening tour, gathering the data. We are putting together the stories that we're hearing from these different listening sessions from southern, central, and northern Illinois, and putting together a compelling application to receive the funds that we are expecting and hoping that we'll get. The Digital Equity Act focuses specifically on those covered populations that are listed there. So in addition to veterans, incarcerated individuals in state institutions, peoples with language barriers, racial and ethnic minorities, also included are individuals with disabilities, rural inhabitants, low-income households, aging populations. So these are the categories that that are also going to be a focus in our application for digital equity funds. And just briefly, Illinois Broadband Lab, working very closely with the State Office of Broadband. We help deliver programming, we do community engagement, and especially with my colleague here, Nancy, with U of I Extension. Extension has been an incredible partner in hosting webinars and community education events, and I will turn things over to you. Does that sound good?
Sure, thanks. Just going to take a little bit of time here just to kind of explain what Extension's role is going to be and has been. So I've got a slide here and I'm going to move through. This looks like the timeline of the larger group, Illinois Broadband Lab, with its state partners and how they plan to tour around the state and engage. And a few more slides on their engagement goals. Timelines with the different economic development regions as well. And I think one reason why us at Universityville Extension think that it's really important that we support these efforts is that idea that counties, you know, I go around and speak to a lot of counties. It's kind of interesting to be here at Champaign County. I usually go to the more rural counties and talk to them and work with them. But that idea of thinking regionally is going to be really key with broadband development efforts in the state. I think BEAD money is for rural just as much as the other vulnerable populations in more urban areas. In the rural areas, it's hard to get people to invest when you don't have that population density. However, we have a lot at stake in terms of food security and our agricultural viability. And those small towns around the state are very unique and as well have a lot to offer in terms of the different outputs in the various counties. And so to give an example, I think this tour that, you know, last week speaking with Champaign County, why that might have been important was people got to get together from the surrounding counties, Vermilion, Ford, Iroquois, Douglas, and talk about broadband needs in terms of access, as well as digital skills and programs for digital skills. And all of those things can be tried for with the BEAD money as long as those needs are communicated and pushed up through regional plans as well as state plans. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that there is a soft goal of trying to obtain at least $1.5 billion for Illinois. And if everybody can feed into that story, then that plan might work out. And that would be great because, for example, if you take if you look at Champaign County, you know, even if folks met in Champaign and Danville, really that whole idea of getting all the counties to come together, know who's working in broadband development efforts is going to be really key. You know, I can see, you know, if fiber goes all the way out through St. Joe to Danville and hits Carl Hospital and all of that BEAD and middle mile infrastructure gets invested in, that could really just reinforce what's already going to potentially happen with those communities in the future. We know that there's a lot of viability and potential in that. And so, you know, that's sort of my 2 cents is, you know, a way to get people drummed up about these efforts. And it's important to get the counties talking to each other and thinking regionally about broadband infrastructure. Thanks for the list of different partners. I see Illinois Extension on there. And looks like there's a few ways to get involved. Signing up for the newsletter, feeding information into the process via their survey. And then, of course, those webinars that we like to offer at U of I Extension and the interfacing that you might be able to do with the Broadband Lab and the state office as well. So here's the slide I put together. So we like to support these efforts through outreach assistance. Those are webinars and planning sessions. So we've done 2 cohorts of planning sessions with different counties around the state, getting them to participate in 14-week programs where, you know, a lot of counties, they're just starting out. They don't know even how to talk about broadband. They don't know where to start. We start them out and push them all the way through a 14-week program to where at the end they've got the language down. They know how to talk about what they need. They've done the information gathering, and they're putting a plan together. The plan is data-driven, and everything, you know, feasibility and whatnot, everything is ready for them to engage a private partner and start to think about how they're going to put together a project proposal, take advantage of future funding opportunities. And then the one recently that we're doing is a 16-week agricultural focused program. This is really interesting because it's in partnership with ISU as well. We've got a few researchers over there that have done enough pilot research that they see an increase in staple crop production, 3.6 and 3.8 respectively for soy and corn. That doesn't really speak to some of our counties that are specialty crops, but this program is really interesting for those lower population dense counties. And so we're really trying to give assistance to a county, depending, no matter if you've got a lot of people or not. And then we've got the community broadband development education that we offer. So some of those topics include the BEAD and the digital equity planning information, what the state and federal broadband map tools are. Champaign County is definitely going to want to take a look at that mapping tool. We actually have a webinar on it tomorrow. That map can tell you a lot of information about your county. It can tell you about where your underserved and unserved areas are. It can tell you where your funding eligibility is, and it's just a great tool to use, and it just keeps getting better and better. And we have also offered some education on build out and just all of those nuances where if we see counties stumbling, we don't want every single county to stumble the same way. We're going to do, you know, we think about those outreach implications and try to produce more education addressing some of the nuances of build out and infrastructure planning. State and federal funding opportunities, our most recent one was with this Broadband Breakthrough Program. Of course, one of the other things that we like to do is cooperative services with the counties for their county infrastructure surveys. And so we've done, by the end of next week, we'll have done 30 counties for the broadband infrastructure survey data analysis. And the counties are just doing a great job of getting input on what the needs are of the county in terms of access and adoption and use of broadband. And that's pretty much all that I have to say. Maybe just giving everybody the board as well as the public and constituents you serve encouragement to look and see, you know, what those needs are and how to use broadband access to get access to digital opportunities. Everything has now a digital aspect to it, public safety, health. There's you can literally tie digital access and digital capabilities to almost every aspect of quality of life for urban and rural. And so just a lot of encouragement on thinking through the type of investments that you'd want to make and supporting each other, households, businesses, farming and ag businesses, as well as community and public entities. Any questions?
So, and I really had wanted to come to one of your listening sessions. My schedule just wouldn't allow it. And I know, I'm sure that you all are aware of this because I know you've been working with the Farm Bureau, but we in Champaign County have allocated $10 million of our American Rescue Plan Act to broadband infrastructure in the county with the idea And we had a subcommittee that's met many, many times. They've developed a comprehensive plan for the county. They've done an extensive amount of survey work in the county, both on speed, but also on gathering people's stories. And then one of the reasons for that was we had listening sessions about our ARPA funding. And we had those initial listening sessions. One of the overwhelming thing, we allowed people to write in letters. People also came and spoke, but one of the overwhelming things we heard, especially from our rural constituents, was about broadband, and they told really compelling stories. So if you want any of that, if you want any of that data.
Yes, please.
So we have all of that data. So we have a comprehensive plan. We've already put $3 million into we've already let contracts, and it's a fiber plan corner to corner in Champaign County. So Kathy, who's in the back there, is our ARPA guru and could probably help you. But all of that is also available on our website. If you like, and all of that is on there. So that might be worthwhile. If it might help you tell the story for the BEAD application, at least for this part. And I do think your point about tying it into the other counties is also probably pretty important.
So yes, absolutely. So all of that, and that's so wonderful to hear, and congratulations on the wonderful work that you're doing. We want to be able to share about Champaign County and what's happening here. And just in meeting some of the people that we did last week at Champaign Farm Bureau, learning that there's been an active organization, UC2B, and other providers that are very involved in digital equity, digital inclusion work. These are all important things for us to know and to include in our application for funding, for federal funding for the entire state, so that we know where, if you want to call them assets, where the assets are and who we can partner with in order to continue building out. So knowing that Champaign is in a great place and is in good hands and have been able to stand up so much of the deployment that is about to happen is a great thing, and it could serve as a model for other counties. So all of that, we would, as much as you're willing to share, we would love to. You're like, have it. We would love to, have a conversation more about it. So thank you.
Yeah, and speaking of the Farm Bureau, if Champaign County and the CU2B efforts, if they're working with Bailey Comrade over there, that's going to be key. We also have a session where we had Bill Bodine speak about getting early engagement with farmers and landowners done early on in the planning process, so that once you're rolling out or building out, that you're not, getting a hold of these folks after the fact and not involving them from the beginning. Because a lot of that infrastructure, that middle mile infrastructure and things like that, you're going to want to include some of those folks as well. So, other question?
Yeah, thank you for coming. I went to the session last week, the early session for leaders, as if I fit into that category. I was on the broadband committee, and I explained it there, and Stephanie explained it well. We started on this really early. Brad, before Bailey, I think it was within less than a week of the announcement of Champaign County getting ARPA money. Brad was in our inboxes and on the telephone because Farm Bureau was ready and willing and had data already and knew what they wanted to do. I think we have to look at this. One of the things we want to express is we've sort of moved on to the next challenges. We have a plan. We have almost basically a shovel-ready project, which I think is a big plus when we go to look for further funds to back up what we've put in. We put in just about a quarter of our ARPA money, our whole ask into broadband. You've heard some of the discussion earlier about how we even move things around. Some of the hurdles is buy-in. We need to make this important to people, make them understand how important it is. I think most people do liken it to rural electrification back in the day and how that changed farming. It was tooling along fairly well, but that really made a big boost in the capabilities of rural people. I'm fully on board with getting to the stuff that's the easy stuff to do first, these multi-unit houses and things that are in town, that are underserved, that we can do almost right away. But moving out, we're going to need access, right-of-way management. This is going to be a big challenge to get through. There will be people who don't want us to go through. We need to address that in some way. There's probably different ways to go about that. But the most important is to make the people who will be served by this understand how important it is to be served by it. So I appreciate all of the dialogue that you've been doing. And so feel free when you get the stuff from Kathy in the back and that to use that as an example for other counties. But we want to, do the next steps too. We want to really start getting this stuff in the ground and get it going. And we appreciate any help you can do to get that moving. Thank you.
Wait, Samantha?
And so I was on the broadband task force with Eric. I'm sorry I missed the meeting that you guys hosted. 2020 was just like an eye-opener, I think, for everyone with the pandemic and not having access to internet services. As for me and my family, I also own a small business. For so many years, I was only able to afford internet services at my business because I used it more at my business versus at home. And then the pandemic hit. And then everybody's like, wow, I don't have internet service at home. But it was affordability. So having a small business, you got, of course, always your business bills first. And then I've always been the type to, my home comes second outside of my business. And so I wasn't able to afford internet services at home. So the fact that I was able to be a part of the broadband task force and all of those key points were mentioned, we want fast internet service and we want it to be affordable. And to see this all come together is just amazing. The data that we collected, I didn't know anything about fiber optic cables. That was interesting to know and learn. And I am very excited about where we're expanding to. I think internet services should be available for everyone. I forgot where we were looking at the statistics for how homes that have internet services and then how they're able to gain better employment, more knowledge, through the internet. So it is very much needed. I think with the pandemic that we're all aware that we need it. We need it. And I know it's always going to be on the back of everyone's mind. Yeah, you need it, but is it going to be affordable? And so I think if we keep that in mind, I think everybody will be definitely on board. Thank you for the work that you guys are doing. I'm excited for you all. I'm excited for Champaign County in the direction that we are going in, making internet accessibility for all. Thank you.
All right, any other, Beth?
I have a couple questions. Is this ARPA money or is this a different pool of money?
Is it a proposal?
Just
Okay, so you don't have the
education about
2026 deadline worries about spending money and allocating, okay.
Nope, we're just, we're probably your only ones not asking for anything. We're trying to give it away, so.
Oh, great, okay. And I also wondered, have you guys reached out to ICCN at all on campus? Do you know who that is?
Excuse me?
ICCN?
ICCN.
Yes.
I
Okay.
don't know what it
They're
stands
the Intercampus Communications Network. So the State of Illinois University system has its own research network. There's about 600 miles of fiber optic cable that goes through the universities, through Bloomington and Springfield and here in Chicago, and Bradley University. And they're all linked up, and then they are used for research. It's a dedicated university line. All those lines also had to get right-of-way through properties and things. It is possible if you reach out to them, they can either tell you who may be amenable to that, who they found to lay cable. You could probably piggyback off some of their stuff as far as where to put the cables. I would reach out to them. They're probably a very valuable resource for information along those lines. And they have a lot of very knowledgeable people about maintaining and upgrading and where to put your stuff. I've also wondered, so I'm familiar with the extension. We actually work with YAGMA at the university in IT. And I was wondering what, because you said it would further your, it was on the slide. What was the word? Your mission as an extension? What are you thinking of when you say that?
Oh, yeah. Well, broadband development is very foundational to all of our sort of program areas. Our mission is quality of life oriented, of course. But I think that the program areas in extension, which are ag, natural resources, family consumer science, youth development, and community and economic development, all of those programs that we do within those 4 areas, those are educational programs and cooperative services that we provide across the state using university resources and research. And all of those programs have digital components.
Right.
We could be educating, and I think we're, getting closer, more increasingly educating on the digital skills necessary to, sort of be your best, whether it be precision ag or e-commerce or, financial management or whatever, that there's digital aspects to all of that education. And so it very much aligns with the extension mission to run alongside the state's efforts in expanding that high-speed internet access, as well as the affordability and the digital skills education.
I would also encourage you to reach out to Internet 2. They are a organization that deals with expanding access as well between educational institutions and research organizations. And they are also probably a very valuable resource as to
Sure.
what you guys are
And I
looking
didn't
for. And I
bring
can
a
give you
pen.
that contact information.
Yep, I might
yeah.
talk to you afterwards and get that information from
Absolutely.
you. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other questions, guess we'll move on. Thanks a lot for coming out. It was really important
you.
information. Entertain a motion for the semi-annual closed session minute review.
If there's
There you go.
no objection, I'd like to take these next 3 items as an omnibus. Cool. I move to follow the state's attorney's recommendation for all closed session minutes of the county board, county administrator search committee, and nursing home board of directors to remain closed.
All right. And now for this, we cannot discuss it unless we go into closed session. Assuming there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. Seeing no other business, I call this meeting adjourned.